here Lawson TV Pro Max. Now some on a parliament in Chinua show disagreement pa a course of parliamentar. Now minority for no say majority for no person must see one. And I say a ba agenchere and oba baye or parliament hona. Majority no ejidi so omna doson nti no I was say omunya more chances to talk, to express their views. A chain my minority no. Na minority is that. The fact some also chain and chesem betimi aka kasa bo asye yem. Mo ka ba ko an enso aka ba ko. Nti nchinyi wa hye wo ho we se menti ase ema Speaker of Parliament Bagbin Edna no chumo se enye sei na wo se ko fititi nyina emfa ho se we so ana we do so ye mo bia equal chance to talk. Nti minority for no edibem ti obuo asem no yenko timra.
This is the opportunity, since by practice, the majority always goes with the position of the president. This is an opportunity that you give ample time to the minority to have a say. That's what happens. In the second parliament of the Fourth Republic, the NDC had 133. The NPP were 61. CPP had 2. And PNC had, I think, 5. The total was, for those not in government, 67. And NDC had 133. But I will let Right Honorable Justice Daniel Annan give ample time to the 67, more than the 133. And they aired their views. They have, they say, when it comes to an issue of decision, you have your way. That is it in democracy. So it's not a number that you count how many should speak on each side of the house. This house is not arranged against opposition and government. This house is arranged in an what? Horseshoe manner, calling for consensus building. That is why you have the house arranged this way. On this left side, you have the MPP members and you have the NDC members. True or false? So can you say that this side is opposition? No. And we moved away from the terms opposition and government to minority and majority. There are good reasons for that. So please, I'm not going to go by any numbers from any recommendation by any business committee or leaders. We consult leaders and all these committees to guide us. But after the discretion is in our bosom. And so whatever ratio you are trying to use will not apply here. We will decide who has caught our eye, and the person will speak. But as I said, it's always skewed in favor of the minority because they have to have their say. Then you will have your way. Please, that is my ruling, and we'll go by it. I'm coming to you. I'm not sure. I am not sure today, once again, whether your leader, the minority leader, will say on this floor again that they don't need the protection of the speaker. This time he won't look at me. So please, want to hear the best, want to hear from all of you, but definitely this opportunity is too limited.
President Mahama has formed arguably one of the biggest or largest governments in the history of our country as it relates to the cost on the national exchequer. Why do I say this? Take, for example, the president has appointed Dr. Valerie Sawyer as senior presidential advisor in charge of government affairs. Her rank is a cabinet minister who doubles as a member of parliament. So her salary, her emolument, conditions of service, everything to do with her office is at the same rank as a cabinet minister who doubles as a member of parliament. The Speaker, he's appointed a presidential advisor on economy, appointed presidential advisor for 24-hour economy, presidential advisor in special aid to the president, presidential advisor on national anti-corruption program, presidential advisor on diaspora affairs. Mr. Speaker, he goes on to appoint presidential advisor, presidential staffer, and special aid to the vice president, presidential staffer for Black Star Experience, and then presidential staffer for diaspora affairs. Mr. Speaker, then he goes ahead to appoint 5 policy advisors to the vice president. Mr. Speaker, he tells the country that he's appointed a minister in charge of agribusiness. And yet, he's appointed director at the presidency in charge of agriculture and agribusiness. My good friend Peter Buama Otukono. Mr. Speaker, he says he will not appoint deputy regional ministers. And he appoints 16 presidential staffers in charge of the 16 regions of our country. Mr. Speaker, I want to submit that these presidential staffers in charge of the 16 regions of our country, in essence, as it relates to the cost on the national exchequer, are in fact, indeed, and in substance, deputy ministers of state. Mr. Speaker, he then appoints, Mr. Speaker, listen carefully, please. Mr. Speaker, he then appoints 1 presidential advisor on media, 4 directors of communication at the office of the president, 5 deputy directors of communication, 2 communication specialists, 5 technical communication assistants, 1 media aide, 1 assistant media liaison officer, 1 communications consultant. That's because I've done the mathematics, and I want to submit. That's because I've done the mathematics that I want to submit, and I do this not from a partisan lens, but I do this as somebody who had the privilege and honor to serve as Deputy Chief of Staff. I know how it works. In terms of the cost on the national exchequer, the President has appointed 100 ministers and deputy ministers. That's because the President has established a Ministry of Youth Development. That's because I want to refer the House and my good friend, Honorable, I will tender all of this, Mr. Speaker. I will tender this. I will tender it. Mr. Speaker, but, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable James Agalga, my very good friend, has talked about how the MPP government terminated some appointments. Mr. Speaker, assuming without admitting that that even happened, shouldn't our governance move forward? Shouldn't we have good governance? And indeed, when we promise resetting, what does that mean? But, Mr. Speaker, more importantly, may I refer the House, Mr. Speaker, may I refer the House to Article 191 of our National Constitution, which states, and I quote, "A member of the public services shall not be dismissed or removed from office or reduced in rank or otherwise punished without just cause," end quote. Mr. Speaker, we are building a nation, and there are hundreds and thousands of people out there who have lost their jobs. I think our friends from the other side, the Honorable James Agaga, should join us to appeal to the president, just as he took an oath, Mr. Speaker, on the second schedule of our national constitution, where he said, and I quote, "to protect and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana," end quote. Article 191 is a provision of the Constitution of Ghana, and the president is enjoined to indeed defend and protect this provision of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the president, in the same schedule, swore an oath to do justice to all manner of persons. Some of these people whose appointments have been terminated, some are NDC members, Mr. Speaker. Some are MPP members. Some are non-partisan. Some don't even know what happens in politics. And yet, a president who says he'll be father for all has terminated the appointment. When President Mahama was leaving office, Mr. Speaker, he appointed Mr. Joseph Whittal as the commissioner for Shraj. He appointed Joseph Nkrumah as chairman of NCCE. On 23rd December 2016, he appointed Daniel Domevilo as Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, it is not Abu Jinapor,
member, conclude.
or it is not the minority. It's not the minority, Mr. Speaker, who is giving the president names. No, Mr. Speaker, when you go out there on the streets, it's the Ghanaian youth who are talking about that. That the president promised to create jobs, and yet he's come, and the talk on the street is that Mahama Bako terminations, baby. Mr. Speaker, and that is why they have named him. We haven't named him. The minority hasn't named him. They have named him Terminator #1. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we call on the president to rise up to the occasion, to jettison the promises, and Mr. Speaker, and honor his commitments of providing you for the Ghanaian people. What we heard on 27th was a message of lamentations and not a State of the Nation address. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the attention.